The Constitution does not tolerate willful disobedience of judicial orders, especially by officials of a coordinate branch who have sworn an oath to uphold it. To permit such officials to freely annul the judgments of the courts of the United States would not just destroy the rights acquired under those judgments, it would make a solemn mockery of the Constitution itself. Defendants provide no convincing reason to avoid the conclusion that appears obvious. They deliberately flouted this court's order. Rather than offer a mea culpa and attempt to explain this grave error and detail plans to rectify it, defendants offer various imaginative arguments for why they nevertheless technically complied with the order. None of their positions withstand scrutiny. Defendants' conduct, moreover, manifests a willful disregard of the court's legally binding prescriptions. Given the evidence at this early stage in the inquiry and offered no persuasive reason to conclude otherwise, the court finds that there is probable cause that defendants acted contemptuously. When the judge says acted contemptuously, he means in a legal sense, as in the defendants acted in contempt of court. If you want to know where contempt of court is on the map of the death of the Republic, it's that thing right on the edge of the abyss. You get up to you're approaching the cliff, there's the signs telling you you're getting close to the edge, and then you go past the signs, and then you get right up to the edge. It's the contempt of court that's right there. When the Trump administration started shipping people off to a foreign prison in El Salvador, a judge in Washington ordered them to turn around the planes that were in the air at that moment flying to that prison. The administration did not do that. Instead, they sent those people to that prison in El Salvador anyway. Ever since, that same federal judge in Washington has been demanding answers about who exactly made the decision to defy his legally binding order, and when, and how, and who else is implicated in this mess. Today, in this ruling, that Washington judge made clear that he is done playing games. They are on the edge of contempt, which is on the edge of the end. He gave the Trump administration until Wednesday, next week, 1 week, to either fix this mess by having the U.S. government retake custody of all those people it shipped to El Salvador, or start handing over the names of Trump officials for the judge to hold in criminal contempt. After the planes didn't turn around and landed in El Salvador, the president of that country mocked the judge's order by tweeting, quote, "Oopsie, too late." He literally used the word oopsie. That was then reposted by America's Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Well, today, the judge in that case wrote that there's probable cause for contempt charges against Trump administration officials. He cited that instance specifically. Quote, "Boasts by defendants intimated that they had defied the court's order deliberately and gleefully. The Secretary of State, for instance, retweeted a post in which, above a news headline noting this court's order to return the flights to the U.S., the president of El Salvador wrote, 'Oopsie, too late.'" Life comes at you fast, Marco Rubio. Joining us now is Lee Gelernt, Deputy Director of the ACLU's Immigrants' Rights Project and the lead attorney in this case against the administration. Mr. Gelernt, thank you very much for being with us tonight. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Rachel.
This is one of those rulings from a federal judge that gets read on nightly news shows because it is narrative and it is written in a way that is designed to make clear to all people, not just lawyers, how serious the stakes are here and how badly, in this judge's estimation, the administration has messed up on something very serious. What's your reaction to this ruling, and what do you think it will mean for this case?
Yeah, a few things. First of all, your introduction, I think, hit it right. This is serious business, and we're in a very serious place. And I think you're right about the way the judge wrote it. I think he's writing for more than just the lawyers, more than just law professors. He's trying to talk to the American public about what it would mean if court orders are violated. And I think the other thing he said, which is really important, is because I've been sitting there in court, obviously, for all these hearings, is he has given the government time and time again the opportunity to explain themselves, and they've simply refused. The most important thing from our standpoint is I'm going to let other people get into whether we're at a constitutional crisis now or approaching it and what it means for the rule of law in a larger sense. The most important thing for me today was that the court said, look, they can still get out from under this if they do the right thing and bring these men back. And obviously everyone's focused on Kilmer right now, and that's critically important that he be brought back. But in our case, there were hundreds of Venezuelan men who were wrongfully sent to this prison and are there now. And I think Judge Boasberg's saying, look, as bad as this was, I don't need to go through with all this if you just do the right thing and bring these men back. Unfortunately, the government has already appealed his order. His order came out this afternoon. They've already appealed it rather than saying, okay, we'll do the right thing and bring these men back.
And to be clearly, what the judge is signaling here is that the Trump administration does not need to set all of these people free or release them or do any other specific thing. The judge is simply saying that these men must be brought back into the custody of the United States, that they must be under the control and custody of the United States so that the proceedings on any number of their cases can proceed along the lines that are afforded under the Constitution, right? He's not telling the administration that they need to do any one thing with any of these men other than put them back under U.S. control.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Rachel. That's absolutely right. The judge has gone out of his way to make clear that he is not ordering these men to be released on U.S. streets. If they've committed crimes, they can be prosecuted, they can be detained under our immigration laws, and they can be removed under our immigration laws. But they can't be sent to a foreign prison, potentially for the rest of their lives, without due process. What he is saying is bring them back to the U.S., give them due process, and if ultimately they're deported under the immigration laws, then they're deported under the immigration laws. But he is not by any means saying they should be free to be out of detention until they have due process and can prove that they're not gang members. But that's exactly right. I mean, there's a false choice going on here where we either send them to this brutal Salvadoran prison for the rest of their lives, or we let them out on U.S. streets. That's not what's going on. He's simply saying you cannot use a wartime authority without any due process. And he's been 100% clear about it. The government knows that. And what he has said to the government point blank in court is, look, if anybody in the administration is going out there saying, I'm letting these people out on the street, they need to stop doing it. He's, I think, really upset that people are mischaracterizing what he's doing.
Do you expect, I guess the way to ask this is, do you expect a predictable outcome if this case does result in Trump administration officials being held in contempt? I feel like that is something that is very rare in U.S. history. It's certainly very rare on a matter like this, where the government has been given lots and lots and lots of opportunity to remedy its compliance with the court's orders. Is there anything that we should sort of be preparing ourselves for if contempt proceedings do proceed here?
You know, if the government is going to put people on the stand, it will be surprising to me, at least. I think the only thing that's predictable now about the Trump administration is they're going to take this all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court again. And how the court rules, I don't know. But I don't see the government saying, sure, we'll bring the people back, we'll do the right thing, or sure, we'll take the stand and tell you the truth. I wish one of those two things would happen. But right now, based on what I've seen the last few months, I don't see the Trump administration doing it. So I would say, in answer to your question, the only thing that's predictable is they will keep fighting. They've already appealed to the circuit, and I suspect they'll go to the Supreme Court. And that's unfortunate that they're going to. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even if they do go to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court tells them to bring these guys back, they're going to bring these guys back. They are, because they have to, because there's no other choice. There's no choose your own adventure in our country where an order like that from the Supreme Court is defied. It just doesn't. They may hem and haw, but it's just not going to happen. We're not going to be there. Lee Gelernt, Deputy Director for the ACLU's Immigrants' Rights Project, the lead lawyer in this case against the Trump administration. Lee, I know it's been a long and very intense day. Thanks for your help tonight.
Thanks, Rachel.